At this point in time, we all know that Ellie De La Cruzes and the Gunnar Hendersons, but who are some more of the under-radar rising stars in the MLB that we could take advantage of this 2025 fantasy baseball season? I got 10 names for you guys today on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm riding solo today, and if you're on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. You should, because it will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And if you're on the audio end listening on Apple or Spotify, we would truly appreciate it if you could give us a 5-star rating and write a little review. It goes a long way to help the outreach of the podcast. And lastly, but most importantly to us and you guys this time of year, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience. Through text messaging alerts that are going to be given right to your phone. So you're going to get that competitive edge on all of your fantasy league rivals. So through that, you're going to get our 2025 rankings, keeper questions answered on there, and just so much more than we could offer in this 30-minute episode. So make sure you check us out on Subtext. The link is in the bio, wherever you're listening or watching. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, guys, I kind of teased it at the top. We all know the big names like Ellie De La Cruz, the Bobby Witts, the Julios, the Corbin Carrolls, that are just some of the rising stars in the MLB, and they're all being drafted fairly highly. And I mean, I'm still going to talk about, some guys that will be drafted somewhat high. But you know what? They're all rising stars that I feel like aren't getting enough love going into this 2025 fantasy baseball season. So make sure, you keep these names in mind as you're going into your drafts and, you're building strategy. These are some names that I really think are going to have, some young players that are going to have really strong seasons in 2025. Let's start off with this first name here. Let's talk about Michael Harris. And I totally wish that, my brother Matt was here to, talk about Michael Harris with me, because we have very differing opinions on this young player, right? So Michael Harris plays for those Atlanta Braves. He's been a little bit banged up over the past couple of seasons, but nothing major, right? He last year he was dealing with a hamstring issue that kept him out for a little bit less than a month. And also in 2023, Michael Harris was dealing with a back issue that also kept him out for about 3 weeks. So nothing major, he's not, I wouldn't call him an injury prone type player, but he's somebody that we haven't seen a full season from. We haven't seen a 155 game season from Michael Harris yet, right? He's still only going to be 24. He got called up back in 2022 when he was 21 years old. And this kid's just kind of been very consistent, right? Very strong batting average. He's got pop. He's got speed. When you look at the underlying stuff, 75th percentile in sprint speed for Michael Harris. Batting average, they love the underlying stuff, loves batting average for Michael Harris. The kid could legitimately be a 300 hitter. He hits the ball pretty hard, 82nd percentile. The bat speed's good. He does chase a lot. He doesn't strike out too much. You kind of like that. You wish he would walk a little bit more. But you know what? There's an opportunity again for Harris, right? When Acuna went down last year, Michael Harris was hurt for a little bit as well. But, towards the end of the year, Michael Harris really got it going. And you know what? When you're dealing with injuries, especially towards the end of the year, it's tough to build back up in very little time. And, the Braves just had a tough season last year, so it was tough for Harris to stay motivated. So the Braves have officially pretty much came out and said, we don't expect Ronald Acuna Jr. to be healthy for opening day. So here lies the major opportunity for Michael Harris. Roster Resource has him expected to hit first. He hit first a lot last year when Acuna was out. If Michael Harris can stay healthy, the upside is 100 runs, 25 plus homers, 25 plus steals, and he could hit 300. So you're talking about one of the best outfielders in the game if he can maintain that, strong pace for 150 plus games. He's only 24 years old. As I mentioned, all the underlying stuff, looks really, really good for the young Michael Harris. Even his fielding, is very, very strong as well. So we love to see that. The ADP is kind of high right now. Been kind of using NFBC ADP lately. According to NFBC ADP, Michael Harris is the 14th outfielder. I'm just doing drafts that have been done in the last, since January. It's been 33 drafts coming off the board around pick 37, the 14th outfielder. I like Michael Harris as an outfielder number 2. I personally have Harris. I think I have him around 18 as I open up my rankings back up over here. Yeah, I believe I have Michael Harris around the 18th outfielder, and I think that's a good spot for him. I don't know if I'm pushing him up to the 14th because there's a couple guys that are being drafted under him that I do. Honestly, actually, I'm not really mad. I'm not really mad at that, to be honest. Like I said, actually, I have Harris up to 17, so it's 3 spots. I'm not arguing with that. I really like Michael Harris for the season. I think the Atlanta Braves are going to have, big returns from Austin Riley. Who also is banged up. Ozzy Albies is projected to hit second, right? And I didn't even mention this. I think there's a world when Acuna comes back that Harris hits second, Acuna hits first, and then you have Riley, Olsen, Ozuna. And the rest of the line is pretty good too. Let's see what Jarred Kelenic could do this year at 25 years old. You got Sean Murphy. Orlando Arcia surprised everybody last year and had a really good season. And then Brian De La Cruz is there as well. So let's see how things go. I'm big on Michael Harris for 2025. Let's move on to another young stud. Let's talk about Riley Green. I've talked about Riley Green a lot. I feel like already this offseason, but I'm going to keep going with it because I had Riley Green pegged as one of my breakout players last year, and I almost nailed it. I think my bold prediction for Riley Green last season was that he would go 2020 and be the best player on the Tigers and be an all-star. I was so close. Riley Green was an all-star last year. He had 24 home runs in 137 games, only had 4 steals. He hit 262. I love Riley Green, man. This kid can really play. He was one of the top prospects in all of baseball going back about, I think, at this point, it might be 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, actually, I think it was about 4 years ago, right, when he was getting called up. But if you look at all of the underlying stuff for Riley Green, it looks great, man. He hits the ball really hard, bounces it up well. The bat speed's great. He doesn't chase a lot. The sprint speed isn't great at 60th percentile, but if you look back in 2023, he was up in the 71st percentile. So this is a young kid that, only getting better, stronger, faster. He's also only going to be 2024 in, this upcoming season in 2025. I think the Detroit Tigers are going to be a lot better than they were last year. And he also, Riley Green had 82 runs and 74 RBIs last year. Some strong numbers, out of a Detroit Tigers team that was playing a lot better. Another guy, if Riley Green can stay healthy, give you 150 plus games, there's a world where it's 95 runs, 30-ish homers, close to 100 RBIs. If this team really gets rock and rolling with some of these young players like the Colt Keiths, the Parker Meadows, Spencer Torkelsons, the Brian Gleyber Torres, if they can really, just get rocking and rolling, I think there's a world where, this guy's really, really good. And 15 steals, maybe we won't push the 20 for this year, but 15 steals I think is very possible from Riley Green. And then the batting average, he's a career 267 guy. I think he could be around there. The batting average isn't one of the things that the underlying stuff likes too much in 2024 anyway, that is, because if you look back at 2023, the underlying stuff for batting average for Riley Green was 289 expected batting average. So I would expect somewhere in the middle of that, maybe like a 275-ish batting average for this kid. If he really gets off and takes rock and rolling, 280 plus isn't out of the realm of possibilities. But I love me some Riley Green. And let's just check that early ADP on him because I think he's another guy that we kind of are getting a deal on. ADP is the 26th outfielder, so an outfielder number 3. And I really like that for a kid like Riley Green. I actually have him at 30. So a little bit higher than, I should pick 108. After pick 100, I like that. I'm not going to argue with that. I might even need to move Riley Green up. I've actually moved him too far down. I don't even know why I've done that. There, I could at least move him up 2-3 spots and get him back up around where ADP has Riley Green, because I think that's a sweet spot for him. With that being said, though, guys, I have some more awesome names. I'll tease a couple for you. Jason Dominguez, who might be starting for those New York Yankees. I got Hunter Brown, who had a marvelous season last year, and I feel like he is not being spoken enough at all. And then I have a rookie starting pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, and it's if you know kind of situation, and if you don't, you want to stick around because you're not going to want to miss those names and more coming up next. And folks, I need to talk to you guys about my friends over at Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. With the last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy, and theater. With their flash deals, you'll save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. With their zone deals, you'll save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. With their all-in pricing, when you toggle this feature, it shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. With their seat views, you get a panoramic view from your seat, the actual seat you'll be sitting in before you buy it. With their lowest price guarantee, or the Game Time will credit you up to 110% of the difference. And with Game Time's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app or create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And then, folks, I want to talk to you guys about the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. It's going to be your ultimate fantasy baseball companion as this offseason continues to unfold. You can rely on Matt and I for our dynamic content. You're going to real-time alerts right to your phone, including our 2025 rankings, sleepers, breakouts, busts, and so much more than we can offer in this 30-minute podcast. And, guys, this time of year, we're really only going to be answering keeper and dynasty questions on the Subtext platform. So if you are interested in any of that, make sure you check out the link in our bio wherever you're listening or watching, and it's also available on any of our social media platforms, so make sure you check that out today to get that competitive edge over your league. When you subscribe on Subtext, your path to victories are going to begin there, so make sure you check it out today and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. And all right, folks, let's lock back in here because I got a bunch more great names for you. Let's talk about Jason Dominguez of the New York Yankees. I just feel like another name that, the hype, I don't feel like it's being spoken enough about enough for Jason Dominguez. I know we didn't see him a lot in the playoffs. I'm a Yankee fan myself, if you're new around here and you don't know. But it's the story's not fully written on Dominguez yet, right? Early roster resource has him projected to hit eighth. I think Dominguez is going to play every day. My ear's been down to, on the ground here doing that, dirty workout here for you guys in New York. The word around here is everything I'm hearing is that they're going to let him play every day. The word was if Soto doesn't come back, Dominguez has the spot. It's his to lose. Can he lose it in spring training? Yeah, sure. But you know what? Right now, the early ADP, I don't think it's too crazy on a kid like Jason Dominguez yet. Actually, it's moved up a little bit. So let's not check. 36th outfielder off the board, pick 153. I have Dominguez as my 33rd outfielder off the board. So you're talking around taking him as your third outfielder, your first utility bat. I think taking him as your first utility bat is spot on. When Dominguez got called up back in 2023, it was 8 games, 4 homers, 7 RBIs. He stole a base. He hit 258. The kid has major power. He can steal bases. He can hit for average. He's a student of the game. He's always gotten better. There was a times where he was a little bit banged up and people questioned Dominguez, but he's always bounced back, even in the minors across 3 levels in 2024. Dominguez played 58 games. He had 11 homers, 16 steals. He hit .314 with 22 walks to 50 strikeouts. He was really, really good. And there's no reason that the kid who, was ranked by everybody at one point as, if not the top prospect in all of baseball, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. I think we need to give him the opportunity to go out there and show us that he can't do it before we dismiss him. There's no reason to dismiss him yet. I don't think anyway. There's no reason to also think, that the small amount of games that he played in the MLB so far, whether the good or the bad, because if you look at the majors in 2024, it was 18 games in the bigs for Dominguez. He had 2 homers, 5 steals, 179 batting average. Wasn't really getting it done. I still think we could take him as a utility bat and make profit off of what this kid can do. Somebody's going to have to drive in those runs and step up. If Volpe isn't doing it again this year, I don't see the Yankees letting him keep hitting leadoff when he can't hit for average or, get on base like that. I think Dominguez is somebody that can do it. I think there's a world where Dominguez steals that leadoff spot, is hitting ahead of the Judges, the Bellingers, the Stantons, the Chisholms, and just gets driven in a bunch and it hits a lot of leadoff home runs. Kind of, maybe not a Kyle Schwarber level, but could Dominguez be a 250 batting average with, if he plays 150 games, 30 plus homers, 100 plus runs? That Yankee lineup, when it turns around too, you could turn around, right? If there's a world where Dominguez hits first, Volpe hits last, and that turnaround at the end of the lineup, you could have Volpe on base, you could have Austin Wells on base, you could have Stanton or Goldschmidt on base, guys who get on base there for Dominguez too. So there's a world where I think it's a lot of runs, good amount of RBIs, maybe it's 75, 80 on the lower end. Can he steal 30 bags? Of course he can. So, I think we should definitely be interested in Jason Dominguez. I'm doing a poor job at timing here, guys. Let me try and get some more of these names for you. Let's talk Ezequiel Tovar of those Colorado Rockies. Another player that's young. Didn't have the season we expected him to have last year, but he was good. In the minors, Tovar was more of a steals guy. He only stole 6 bags in 157 games last year. But guess what he did do? Hit 26 home runs in Coors Field over there in Colorado. He's another young player. He's only going to be 23 years old this upcoming season. 270 with 26 homers as a 22-year-old. I love that. And if Tovar runs the way he ran in the minors, I think he's going to be a steal. Somebody that's been slowly and steadily moving up my shortstop ranking. Somebody that's slowly and steadily that I'm liking. I'm moving up to like 12, even as we're sitting here talking about him. Underlying stuff, definitely not sexy, but 71st percentile in sprint speed for Tovar. Probably strikes out, chases, whiffs a little bit too much. But at his young age, I think it's definitely something he could work on and improve. Something, he has improved on some of those things a little bit from 2023. Do I think he's going to be a star? Probably not. But is he a 30-20 candidate in my eyes that could hit, about 270, what he did last year? I think that's definitely possible. And the early ADP on Tovar is, I believe the last time I was looking at him, he was fairly reasonably priced. Tovar, the 12th shortstop off the board, so honestly, about where I have him, I probably have him at 11, I'm going to be honest with you. I probably like him at 11, pick 127 off the board, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, shortstop's richer than we think. A lot of people might say shortstop's thin, but even if you look down, this isn't the shortstop show, but just to mention it, if you go all the way down to shortstop 25, pick 251, Carlos Correa, right? A guy who hits 300, right? And be really good. But that's why I like the upside of Tovar at pick, 127. The Rockies, it's a great field to hit in. He's showing off power. I think the speed could be the next thing that's coming. and he could just be really good. So I'm not mad at the price on him either, even as I'm saying shortstop is really deep. I do like the price on a young Ezequiel Tovar. Let's sneak one more in here. Let's sneak another Yankee, just because I want to get these bats out of the way. And then we'll move into some pitchers here. Austin Wells, right? A catcher who came up last year, was really, really good, slowed down a little bit, towards the end of the year. But right now, the ADP is not bad. 13th catcher off the board for Austin Wells of the New York Yankees. Pick 186. I have Austin Wells as also my 12th catcher. But another guy, there's a world where I move him up a couple spots and he winds up as like my 10th catcher, have to fine tune these rankings. That's what we're doing this time of year, but I really like Austin Wells. Another guy, where's he projected to hit in the Yankees lineup? A 7th, not a bad spot, right behind Stanton, Bellinger, Goldschmidt. I really like that. A couple of those guys might be on base by the time he's up. So the RBIs could be really good. I just want to see if Austin Wells can maintain a salvageable. I don't know if that's even really word. I don't know if I just made it up. But at least if he can, there's a world where he's decent in batting average. If he can get it up to 250, he was actually pretty good at, maintaining a decent batting average in the minors. But 229 over his first 2 years in the bigs, right? Kind of indicating we're not sure if he can do that. But you know what? 115 games last year for Wells. He had 18 doubles, 13 home runs, 55 RBIs, and he had 42 runs. But he's a guy who hits the ball really hard. He's 6'2", 220. So there's a world where Austin Wells really taps into some power, could be a 30 home run catcher. There's seasons in the minors where, Austin Wells over long stretches, 264 over 103 games in 2021. In college was a premier batting average guy, but I don't know if he maintains it. Even in 2022, he had 277 over 92 games. So I would love to see him just get up to around a 250 mark, 30 home run kind of guy. And in this Yankees lineup, could he give you 75 to 80 RBIs in 130 plus games? Of course he could. And I think he winds up being a bargain at the catcher position, right? And guys, I promise you, you're not going to want to miss these starting pitchers. Well, I already teased Hunter Brown. If you stuck around to this point, I'll give you the starting pitcher I wanted to talk about, Jackson Jobe of the Detroit Tigers, coming up next. Number one pitching prospect, arguably in all of baseball. What are we doing with him? So those names and more, make sure you stick around because they're coming up next. All right, guys, I teased it. Let's do it. Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros. Now, he's a kid who, actually been in the league for quite a couple seasons at this point. And, we were all actually really disappointed by the 2023 season out of Hunter Brown. Really, really was one of the best prospects in all of baseball, pitching prospects in, 2022 when he got called up, impressed. So we were all in. We were all in for 2023 for Hunter Brown. I backed off of him coming into 2024 because he was really bad over 155 innings. Didn't really impress me. But he came out in 2024 at 25 years old, and Hunter Brown showed out. 30 starts, 3.41 ERA with those Houston Astros. Hunter Brown this past season. 170 innings, 179 strikeouts, and a 1.27 whip. Improved the whip as well. Hunter Brown is a kid who can take another step forward. His, stance, release is modeled after Justin Verlander, who was a mentor to him when he was back over there in Houston. I really love me some Hunter Brown, and I know he's somebody who, has been getting love, but once again, not as much love as I think he deserves. I think there's a world where he turns himself into a top 20, 25 pitcher. Not all of it, but a lot of the underlying stuff looks really, really good for Hunter Brown. Like I said, there's just a couple more categories, like, doesn't give up really hard exit velocity. Not a lot of barrels, not a lot of hard hits, a lot of ground balls, great extension. If he got a bit more chases, a bit more whiffs, this kid could take it to another level, man. And he gets great results on, almost all of his pitches. Which of, he's got that fastball. He cranks up to 96. Batters only hit 244 against it last year. The sinker is the pitch that needs a little bit of work. 275 batting average against last year. Threw that about 18% of the time. So if he, that cutter was really good. If he put the cutter up a little bit, thought a little bit more, the changeup actually really kept hitters off balance. He threw that 12.6% of the time last year. Hunter Brown did. Batters only hit 221 against it. So there's a world where Hunter Brown, really winds up being one of the better pitchers in baseball right now. His ADP, actually, let's do Fantasy Pros on this one, guys, because you know what? We can't sort by relief and starters, so we can on Fantasy Pros. Shout out to Fantasy Pros for that feature. Hunter Brown right now, 33rd pitcher off the board, pick 106. That's not bad. That's really not a bad spot. I have Hunter Brown as the 36th starting pitcher, so 3 spots. I'm not mad at that. You could jump in and get Hunter Brown as like your SP3, and I really do like that. In a 12-man league, he can really show out and turn into, like I said, top 20-ish starting pitcher. So I do love me some Hunter Brown this year. Let's move on to Jackson Jobe, one of the most intriguing names in all of baseball right now, if you ask me. This is one we probably should look on NFBC for the early ADP on him, because this is where people are taking more risks, right? These guys are paying money for this. A lot of these leagues are drafted holds where you're not able to, pick up and drop players like you can in most fantasy leagues that we play in. So it's a good idea to see where these guys are drafting Jobe right now, where they're willing to take the risk. I'm about 100 pictures in, and I don't think I've seen him yet. Actually, I don't. Okay. Around pick 339 for a Jackson Jobe in that format. And honestly, if we get to spring training and Jackson Jobe is out there throwing gas and striking everybody out, this easily jumps up to like pick 150. If not, if the gas doesn't get even higher on a guy like Jackson Jobe. I have him ranked decently. I have him at SP60 right now, right? If you take all the relief pitchers out of here, this, in my opinion, would probably put Jackson Jobe around pitcher like 95. Maybe there's about 20 relief pitchers, or 25, maybe even more. So maybe around where like pitcher 80. But this is a great price for somebody we're going to throw a dart at. I want to see if early a roster resource has him in the rotation, because this is a kid who's definitely going to get the invitation. He throws gas. He had a monster season in the minors last year. Yeah, they have Jackson Jobe in there, man. They have Jackson Jobe. If they have it right now, Skubal, Olsen, Cobb, Mize, and Jobe for the Detroit Tigers. And, like I said, Jobe is somebody who had a really, really strong year in the minors last year. I'm grabbing those numbers for you guys right now as we speak. So, yeah, Jobe had 21 starts last year, 2.36 ERA, 91 innings pitched, 96 strikeouts, a 1.12 WHIP. And, that was as a 21-year-old across 3 levels. He was really good, and he just has really good stuff. Detroit's a great park to pitch in, big park. He has the mentor in, Skubal, even Alex Cobb, another great mentor, a great, guy who's been around a long time, a starting pitcher who knows a lot. Casey Mize, who's a former number 1 pick as well. The pitching stat, like the pitching coaching there is really good. And like I said, a kid who's going to break into the league and I think be really great, somebody that you should look into draft and make sure he's on your list. Let's sneak in one more here. I did have a couple more names. I'll throw in the bonus names at the end, but let's talk Mason Miller real quick. Mason Miller is going to be one of the best closers in the game. The Athletics, I think, are going to win a lot more games. They are motivated to win, I think, getting out of Oakland. And Mason Miller right now is coming off the board as pick 50 in early ADP. Very, very high. Probably not drafting him there. But when it comes to your fantasy leagues, your home leagues, right? you're not going to have to pay the price. I really don't think you do. And most guys listening right now, I don't think play in high stakes leagues where closers go this high. I think most of us, play in our home leagues and have a lot of fun drafting where closers go at a reasonable price. And I don't think everybody's going to be on Mason Miller like the experts are, like we are, right? So draft Mason Miller with a lot of confidence. Honestly, I bumped him up to my third closer. I think he's going to be that good. Throws 100-mile-an-hour fastball, has breaking balls to back it up. Going to be a strong closer in 2025 for those Athletics. Two more real quick names. I'm going to throw in Bowden Francis, who had a strong year for the Blue Jays last year. He's slotted to make the rotation. You really don't have to pay anything for him right now. And then the last name I want to talk about real quick is Yuri Perez. For those Miami Marlins, I can't find too much detailed information about where he's at in his recovery. But last I saw, he was quoted talking about how he's not too far behind Sandy Alcantara. And I have found information on Sandy Alcantara. They're saying Sandy Alcantara is supposed to be ready for opening day. So if Yuri Perez is somebody who's ready for opening day in 2025, he is a must draft and will fly up draft boards when we see him out there throwing in spring training. So make sure you keep his name in the back of your head. But guys, with that being said, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And shout out to our everydayers and new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And guys, after you make us your first listen, go check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB and make him your second listen each and every day. But guys, until next time, see ya.